Before we get the video started, I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All right, that's out of the road. I could live to regret this video, but in the absence of having quality content to give you on the wedge tank or the rally, let's start something else. I've been squirreling away. I have been doing a bit. The front guard is just about ready for paint, and would have been ready if it hadn't fallen off the sanding horse I had and put a little nick in the guard. So that's just about ready. And the rear guard is pretty much the same. It's got one coat of spot filler on it that just needs to come off. Then I'm going to prime and putty it, and then I think it'll be ready. In the meantime, have a look at this. I need some parts. Get in touch if you've got any. G'day, welcome to Project Velo. I believe, and this is day 3 of owning this Velo set. This is about a 1921, was sold to me as a Model D, 200 two-stroke Velo set. All of that remains to be seen, and perhaps by the time this video comes out, I'll know a whole lot more about it. Now, there's not a lot of it, and some of it is rough. Actually, some of it's rougher than what I thought. I bought it sight unseen off Facebook Marketplace. I could see a picture. There was only one picture. It was the right price, and I got told everything that's there is good. Well, that's not quite right. Some of it's not great. Mainly rust on the brakes. The front wheel, the hub is not great, and I don't think the rims are right. The rims for 1921 are way too late. They're 19 by 2 1/4, I think, and they're English rims, and they're not the right thing for this. This should be bead edged. Anyway, enough of being negative. I do like it. You know I love a tiddler, a small bike, and there's a lot of it here. So let's hoof in and have a look. So about 1921, possibly a Model D, and it's a 200cc two-stroke, which is pretty cool. I like it. Let's have a look. Here's what we're going to call, the main chunk. And I suppose this is kind of how I buy them, if I'm completely honest. I like the front end. The front end looks pretty good, and I'm looking at it for the first time while you are. Nothing looks broken or damaged or shabby-assed. Is it the correct front end? Oh, I don't know. Could be. The tank. Now, I like the tank. The tank's just sitting there loosely. It actually looks like it's been restored at some stage. It's got a filler cap. Is it the correct one? Don't know. There's an awful lot of thread showing there. Nonetheless, it looks okay. There's no bungs or anything with it. I am hoping it's the right tank. It certainly fits the frame well and appears solid. It bolts on from brackets at the bottom. Let me see if I can get this out without tipping the bike off the bench, because it is precariously balanced. It just goes through lugs on the frame and sits on a flat bar. I assume this is the hand change gear mount. I'm assuming a bit. And the engine is held in on alloy brackets. Cute little oil cap, which is kind of cool. Surprised that's not missing. A few holes for various bits and pieces. Appears to be a crank in it. Don't know whether it turns over. Frame doesn't look too bad. I can see a frame number, so we'll be able to ID that. The frame doesn't look too bad. Everything's missing off it. Now, the rear wheel. I'll give the hub a chance and say the hub could be original. And the brake plate could be original too. But it's in pretty ordinary condition. I need to get it out, clean it up, and see if it can be saved. The tyre is obviously wrong, and I'm guessing the rim is wrong. But I could be wrong. I think the rim is the wrong size and is a later rim, like 19 by 2.5, maybe. Down this side, nothing much to see. The engine is complete-ish, and I've got more engine parts, I hope, in a tub. And we can see the valet name and the other side of the bike. None of it looks too bad. Could it be better? Yeah, it could. Did I pay a lot? Nah, not really. Let's have a look at the rest of the parts that I got with the bike. Now, there's no big grand unpack of tubs and tubs of parts like there was with the wedge tank because I didn't get that much with it. Bit of a shame, but it is. I knew what I was getting. Have got a kind of cool, funky looking little pack racky thing. Now, I actually believe it to be correct. Weird looking thing. It's got a registration plate there that would have been painted. And somewhere in here, because the guy was actually pretty impressed with this, we've got the original tail light. So I'll get the tail light out and show you in a minute. It's in pretty poor condition. It's a bit bent in places, possibly just there has got a bend, but let's pop that down and then I'll bring you in and show you all this stuff on the bench. I've got a couple of alloy guards with it. Now, they're possibly okay, but you know, they're obviously much later. They might be all right. I'll reserve judgment on those. I'm not fussy about guards, you know. As long as we get something that is period correct and a matching pair, I can kind of live with them. That's a rear and a front, so that's pretty super. Here's the front wheel. Now, I don't actually know that this is the front wheel, and it is rusted through the brake drum. And I suppose when I saw it, when I was picking it up, I was a little miffed that he neglected to mention that that hub is almost unusable, I would have thought. I don't know. It doesn't look usable to me. I'll show you in closer detail in a minute. We got a magneto. Now, that is super. And it doesn't matter whether it goes or not because it would have got a rebuild anyway. Does it turn over? No, it's a bit locked up in there. Does turn, rocks backwards and forwards. Something's not right in there. It doesn't turn far. However, I'd have sent it off to be rebuilt anyway. There's a lever, an AMOL lever, or ABAL, depending on what school you went to. The cable's on it. It's pretty good. There's a set of bars. Now, the bars need re-necked, meaning the stem has been cut off at some stage, and you can actually see the saw marks. So we need to re-neck those to go into the frame. Not a big deal, and I'm looking at them being black and assuming that they're correct. Now, they're made for inverted levers, and they're made for an hidden throttle cable too, by the look of them, with a slot in the bars. So that's pretty good. And I'm not unhappy to have genuine bars. Really good result. One of the really nice things is the seat. Now, here, I'm just going to pop up a photo or a little video of how the seat looked originally. Here's the seat off the Project Velo, and it's not in bad nick, to be honest. It's dirty, but the leather is complete. There's a couple little scuffs. Now, I think it's a recover, and the frame certainly needs painted or powdered, but the frame looks pretty good, all things considered, and has been blasted and cleaned up. So I'm going to try a bit of Daz's seat goo on this from a guy who restores seats in Geelong and see if this cleans up. It's had a clean up with Daz's seat goo, and there's some crustiness across the back, but have a look at that. That's a bit special. So that's what it's called, Daz's Seat Goo. And you can get more from Daryl. Not paid content, but it's pretty good. I'm going to pop this in the sun for a little while, and then I'm going to give it another go, and maybe 2 or 3 more. Very dry. Long gave me when I bought a seat, and I put some of it on it yesterday. Now, it absolutely swallowed it up. Unbelievably. Daryl's instructions say, you know, apply and then buff off the excess. There's no excess. It just is dry as dry as dry as dry. Now I'm going to give this another coat, maybe 2, and then I'll let it warm in the sun and go again and again and again, hoping to bring this back to being good condition. I'm going to bring you down on the bench and look at all of this stuff before we start unpacking the tub. But I'm really happy with the seat. The seat's whole. Now, Daryl does a super job, and these seats are cheap in some ways. But to have a seat that I think has been recovered at some stage and in good nick saves a fortune. So I'm really pleased. And I think it could clean up okay. Let's have a look at it on the bench. Well, let's do this in reverse order. So there's the Daz's Seat Goo. Now, I don't know where Daryl gets this from or what it is. It smells super. Not hard to apply. Here's the seat. Now, again, it was very dirty. It is hard, but it's cleaned up really well. There's a few crusty, cracky looking marks on the back. That's a mark from where I've been dragging it in the car. There are no splits, no tears. There might be a slight abrasion on the front there. Yeah, but there's really nothing that tells me, you know, that has to be recovered. So I was pretty happy. Here's the underneath. Now, I don't recognise these saddles. People that know more about them will. I see it as a complete saddle, and I'm happy about that. It's articulated at the front, which is kind of cool, and sprung at the back, and it has room for a seat post. And this is a seat post bike, so I'm pleased about that. So again, it appears to be a seat that will fit. Is it correct? Well, I don't know, but it appears to be a seat that'll fit. So that's cool. Let's put that aside. Here's the bars in close up. I'm sorry if the camera changes colour. I am in the shed. The bars look okay. They could do with a good sand and an enamel paint. And I don't think you'll be able to see the cuts. You might. Where somebody's cut the neck off. Lord knows why. And that's where the cables come out. And the inverted levers attach. And that would be the throttle slide. And the slide, whoops, goes right through. Pretty good. Let's tuck those out of the road. Magneto. Now I'm hoping this is the correct magneto, meaning it's a 2-stroke magneto. I don't really know much about magnetos. Someone that's wiser than me will. And I can't find any numbers on it just at this point. But there will be. Maybe that's them there. I'm hoping it's the right thing. If it's not, well, you can never have too many magnetos. Let's put it away. Here's the offending front wheel. Now, the rim, in fairness, looks quite good. But this piece of the brake drum left me just, I don't know, a little miffed. It's a little bit second-hand and shabby. There's no brake plate, but I'm not sure it's correct anyway. I'm not sure the rim profile is right. I think it's actually potentially a rim that somebody's got together to put on the bike. Don't know. We'll find out though. Rightio. Pair of guards. Now, These are bog stock reproduction guards. They're clean, I'll say that. And they're, are they alloy or are they gal? I think they're alloy. This is obviously a rear guard, and I'll stand up there, and it looks all right. And, you know, maybe I was initially harsh about it. It might go into the bike really well. And once painted, would look pretty slick. I like the profile, I like the roundness. I did bring another guard with me, so we'll see. Last of the biggish items, there's the registration plate, and in the 20s that would have been painted on. As I say, I've got a little tail light glass for there. I'm actually going to remove that from that frame and see how the frame fits. Now I think it's bent just there in the middle, and you can see that too. But it's a rather unusual pack rack. It's very lightweight, but it will go on the bike properly and probably provide support for the rear guard. We'll see how it looks and what happens with it, but it's a nice thing to have with the bike. It's tub time to see what is in the plastic tub. Now I had a quick look yesterday after I got home, and I wasn't completely unhappy, so that was good. I've got a gearbox of sorts, or I've got what could be a gearbox. So the end plate wants to come off, I think, and the gears want to come out. Now, is everything correct? Does everything fit? Is it the way it should be? Oh, I really got no idea. But what I have is what I believe to be the correct gearbox. How much of it's there, how much of it's missing? I suspect a fair bit of it's missing. I spoke to a gent this morning as I was selling an OK Supreme gearbox, or an OK gearbox. He said he had one and that the gearboxes are hard to come by, that they're generally broken. So I'm guessing it's a little two-speed. I'm guessing there's a gear missing out of here that slides on the mechanism inside. But I could be wrong. That is a bit stuck and a bit bent and a little bit ordinary, I suppose. I don't know. It is what it is. Too early to say yet. There's a flywheel. I assumed it had a flywheel and probably has a sprocket that screws onto here. That's about 10 inches round maybe, and is quite heavy. Let's hope it's the one for the bike. Here we go with what's probably a clutch. We've got a cork-lined sprocket. That's a bit interesting, isn't it? So the corks are actually in the teeth. I don't know whether they go through or whether they're bonded to it. And that might be a bit interesting for me at some stage. And then we have what's possibly the pressure plate. How does it all work? No idea. There's a heap of little springs. I don't know how it works. I don't know how much of it I've got. I suspect I don't have all of it. And you'll be able to tell me, or somebody will know. Anyway, that's what I've got. I possibly have a gear change lever, which would be pretty cool if I did. It's super lightweight, but I'm guessing that that's the gear change lever off the bike, with the articulation rod and a little ball fitting for the end. Wow, that's pretty cool. Put that aside. Now, this is another gearbox part and was off the top. So that's a good thing to have, because now I have something to swap with someone else who might want gearbox parts and doesn't have them. So that's a pretty cool thing to have. I believe this is actually off the side of the engine. Now, I don't know exactly where it goes. I have a rough idea that it might go that way on the engine or that way. Don't know. It's chromed or nickeled. It doesn't quite look factory made, but its edges are very clean and doesn't look homemade. Don't know. We have a brake pedal, which is pretty cool. It has the initials, it has a big V on the top. I'll turn it around so you can see it. A V, and then LTD, so Valet Limited perhaps. It looks like that's worn or cut off or is a stop. It's hard to tell, but you know, brake pedal, good outcome. A little bell mouth off the carby with the gauze still in it. 2 collars of some description. No idea what they're from at this point. I'm literally unpacking with no knowledge. I'll set that down for a minute. This is some kind of adjuster slip ring. It has pieces on the back and I assume goes into something, but I don't know what, and people that know more will know. It has a cable. Could it? No, I don't know. Absolutely don't know. There you go. Cool. Now, just 3 shims from something. A very narrow, tall bearing that's a little bit crusty, but doesn't have any movement in it. I bet to go and replace it, it'll cost me one of my kidneys. Another oil cover off an engine. So again, good thing to have. I now have 2 of them. And it says use Castrol oil. Then that's the little light fitting off the rear number plate. And I think the guy took it off so as not to damage it, because the glass, or the, I suppose it's glass, in it is complete and it's not actually in bad nick. Now I've got a few more little clutch springs that came, and then super excited to have a pair of really reasonable quality, or they look it, inverted levers. Now, you know, I have a habit of buying very cheap inverted levers. I suspect these are not cheap and are possibly original. And they possibly may even buff up okay to use, looking at the plating on them now. They are complete-ish, except for the grub screw that pins them to the bars. The question is, do they go in the bars? I'll find out later. Then I have a nice little carburetor that's missing a few fittings. I haven't had it apart. It appears to have, it doesn't appear to fit the bell mouth. It has a cap. There is a spring. And there is a slide inside. Do I have a complete carburetor? I have no idea. I'm guessing no, but, you know, could be wrong. The slide doesn't want to come out for me to show you because, hang on, maybe. Anyway, there's a slide, but there's no needle, assuming it has a needle. I'll get a pair of pliers and we'll pull that out. Okay, little slide. atomizer in the bottom. Perhaps it's complete. Don't know. No idea. Anyway, it's there. That's the main thing, I think, at this point. And to have carburetors can be elusive little brutes, and so to have one is good. I'm going to pop the spring back in and the lid back on. And the bowl is quite good. These actually look nickel plated. There's a float inside with the needle. The tickler's there. These actually look like they've been nickeled. Now, I don't know whether they were nickeled from new or how they were. It looks like there's a piece missing out of here somewhere. Something doesn't look quite right on there, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to put it back together the way I found it, so that at least that's the way I found it. Somebody has spent some time and effort and money. Now, the thing I was pleased to get was the manifold. Now, it's cast aluminium or aluminum. A few people in other countries, it's a bit grubby, and there's a band missing to hold it on, the band that goes around the carby stub. But, you know, I'm very pleased to have it. It's possibly not easy to get. I'm actually not sure. There you go. A little preview, and perhaps there's a couple more episodes to come. I hope you like it. If you've stayed this long in the video and you've got parts, get in touch. Cheers.